with former Ottawa 67's goalie Mike DiPietro. And Mikey, first of all, how have you been keeping yourself busy during this pandemic?
Actually, Dad and I did a bunch of do-it-yourself projects around the house, big couple renovations that I've been helping around with. We've done the laundry room, that's all done. We extended the garage, so that's been we roofed that and everything, and we redid the main floor bathroom. So it's been an eventful month, I guess you could say, to say the least. But also just kind of trying to stay in shape at home and doing workouts the best that I can and trying to keep my sanity.
Were you a handy guy before all this started?
Yeah, I wouldn't say handy. I'm learning on the job, that's for sure. I'm basically a glorified garbage man and fetch boy. I just get whatever my dad needs, but
Yeah,
picking up
that's
a few
okay.
things along the way, and figuring how to do it, do different projects, do small things. Those are life skills you need. So luckily, I have my dad to teach me.
What kind of workouts have you been able to get done at home?
Oh well, I'm pretty lucky. I have a treadmill here at least, and I have a TRX in the garage. But although it's been freezing, so I haven't really got the chance to use that. But I also have like an Atlantis like cable machine, so I do like different kinds of upper body stuff on there. Just doing the best you possibly can. With what you got. My biggest thing is just making sure I get a sweat on the treadmill. Just get the cardio up. Make sure you stay in the best shape as you can until hopefully everything settles down and you can get back into a gym.
Playing with the Utica Comets this year, what's been the biggest adjustment for you in your first year of pro hockey?
I guess off the ice, just living on your own. You don't have billets like you do, like I did in Ottawa or in Windsor. Yeah, you manage your time more. I've always been, I always pride myself being pretty mature, but I guess you manage your time better and, cooking and cleaning and grocery shopping and, laundry doing, I guess. Just like the day-to-day things away from the rink is an adjustment, especially coming from junior, because you're still so young, kind of like everything's going a million miles an hour. But with that being said, it was a great adjustment. I thought the adjustment was good. Thought it was actually a lot of fun. I was the youngest guy in the team. There are very few single guys on the team, so it was good for me to just hang out with them and just kind of do some things. And obviously the on ice stuff kind of speaks for itself, and the on ice stuff has a way and always working itself out. Uh, Tons of open ice, a lot of time with the goalie coach. You figure out your game, you kind of figure out how to, you know, find your game and find spots in your game that can always improve. So that stuff I wasn't too worried about heading into the season. It was basically everything else. It was a new city. It was a new environment that I wasn't used to. But it was also I'm very happy with the way it went. I love the area in Utica, phenomenal people. So can't say enough great things.
In the kitchen, what's your go-to home cooked meal
That's tough,
that
actually.
you can
You know
make?
what, big? The easiest thing is like a stir fry, like especially in something healthy that you can get in your system for dinner. Um, Even though I do love to cook, it's just you're kind of limited with the resources you have in your apartment, like a big barbecue outside, like you at home or whatever. So I guess the most made thing I'd have to say would be a stir fry. Although like Sundays I make sauce, so just make that if I had time. If I actually in Utica we have an indoor soccer team. It's like
Okay.
arena soccer, so it's pretty lively and they sell out. So it's like if I'm not at the arena on Sunday watching them, I have time to make a nice meal on Sunday. Because usually our off days based on their schedules. So, but yeah, probably a chicken stir fry or a steak stir fry would have to be the go-to.
Starting your OHL career, being selected by your hometown team, what was that experience like for you going back 5 years now, back to the OHL draft?
Yeah, it's crazy that it's been 5 years. 5 years ago, and it's been a long journey, to get where I am today. But looking back on it, I'm actually sitting in the room doing the Zoom right now. You can't really tell because my video's frozen. But yeah, this is the room I actually found out I got drafted to Windsor in. They had on the TV. It was a pretty special celebration. You had a bunch of family and friends here, and something that I guess I'll always remember. But something that you just look back on. At the end of each season, I have a tendency to kind of look back on the season and kind of the different obstacles and the different opportunities that get thrown my way in a season, because every season's kind of different. And I guess no truer words were spoken than this season, because nobody can see, what's obviously happening right now. Nobody can see it coming. So, yeah, I look back on my time in Windsor with, obviously a lot of great memories. There's a lot of, you know, love that I have for not only the organization, but the people in Windsor and the people in Essex County that supported me. But luckily in my OHL career, I got to play for two phenomenal franchises, not just one. And everybody talks about the trade to Ottawa and everything in the playoff run. And I still talk to guys that I played with in Ottawa, and we just reminisce about obviously the run and everything that came along with that too. So the OHL is or was something that it was probably the best decision in my life that I made from a hockey perspective.
I want to dive deep into that playoff run with Ottawa and your time with the 67s, but winning a Memorial Cup for your hometown team, that had to be one of the highlights of your career so far.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the Memorial Cup championship would probably be the highlight of my, I guess you could call pro career or semi-pro career, or whatever you want to call it. That's obviously the epitome, to win a championship like that very few people can say they've won. And, for myself, being from the area, it was, gave me more of an incentive to, to win it and to represent my area well and with pride. And, I thought I did that, and it was a lot of fun. It was a tournament that nobody really gave us a chance in, and we embraced kind of the underdog role and kind of ran with it. And even still on the TV in my in my living room, we still have the game taped, the final game, and I still look back on the game and still remember every little thing about that game. It's funny, as a goalie, you have time because you're on an island. You kind of notice everything, and you replay everything in your head. So you have a vivid memory of each and every play of the game. And I just look back on it. You just laugh, shake your head, or say, "How did this happen?" or "How did that happen?" But obviously, you look back and all the stars aligned, and it was a good outcome for us.
And then take us through NHL draft day. 64th overall, obviously a number that means quite a bit to you, and being selected by the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, it was. Everybody plays up the draft, whether it be the Ontario Hockey League draft or the NHL draft, and everybody just plays it up. When you enter a draft year, whether it be for the OHL or for the NHL, it seems that everybody just adds more pressure on themselves. And I'm going to be the very first one to say I dumped a whole lot of pressure on myself that was definitely not needed. I had enough on my plate in my OHL draft year, dealing with Team Ontario and wanting to make that team. And I just had a lot of things on my plate that I just sometimes found myself, adding too much and getting overwhelmed with. And I drew a lot of similarities from that experience to my NHL draft year experience, because, I didn't have the Team Ontario thing to worry about. I had the Memorial Cup to worry about. So then, you add more pressure on top of that, being from the area, one thing after another. You seem like you're carrying around such a heavy load at 17 years old. I found myself to get overwhelmed. But I think once I just kind of let it all go, stopped reading the articles, stopped reading the draft lists and the draft projections, and just trusted myself, it was something that it allowed me to be successful with. So for myself, it was, the draft year, getting drafted by Vancouver was certainly cool. 64th overall, obviously, was really cool. Kind of a weird thing, with the number and, Dad's birth year and why I picked it, and getting drafted in the NHL at that number was, I'm sure I wasn't the first one to do it, but, for me, that was certainly special, especially that deep in the draft. And the draft is an emotional roller coaster. You think your interview went good with this team, and you think you can fit in there, and you don't get picked. And then right when you least expect it, you hear your name called. So it's certainly something really cool, and, something that I'll always look back on and remember.
The trade to Ottawa and the eventful few months that followed with the 67s. What was your initial reaction to the trade with the 67s, or to the 67s?
Yeah, I was obviously upset for leaving Windsor. I'm not going to deny that. It's all I've known. It's all I've been accustomed to. And, my family and friends were from here. At the time, I had a girlfriend in the area, so it was tough leaving her as well. And it was just a bunch of emotions because you just never gone through it. You say the first trade's the hardest one to do, especially with so much strong ties. But I think once I got to Ottawa and really immersed myself in the culture and really embraced truly being 67 is when I truly started having fun again and being comfortable. And like I said, I still talk to all the guys and we still laugh. And, I wanted to organize once the season ended this year, me driving to Ottawa on the way home before even coming back home, hanging out with the guys, go for dinner and stay a night there and stay at my old billets. And, that's definitely on my list to do when this all blows over and catch up with them. And I was actually lucky enough to catch up with an old teammate in Ottawa, Sasha Chmielewski, when I was on the West Coast. We went for dinner at the Cheesecake Factory, and if anybody knows Sasha, he's pretty strict to his diet, but he actually had cheesecake, which surprised me because he and I lived together. So that was a big surprise for myself, to say the least. And it was great just catching up with him. So my time in Windsor was great. My time in Ottawa was great. Obviously, everybody talks about the long playoff run that everybody really got behind and really enjoyed. I remember in practice, even during the playoffs, everybody was talking about taking guesses on how big the crowd was going to be for this series and, stuff you care about that as a hockey player, as a kid, you grew up, dreaming about playing against, in games that matter and playoffs that you go deep in and picture packed stadiums with crazy fans. That's exactly what we got.
What's your biggest memory from that playoff run? You mentioned guys at the practice, but what is
Yeah.
the one thing that stands out?
Well, personally, it's probably the first series win, my first playoff series win. That was big. Um, Everybody looks. I think honestly, Kenny, I think each series is something. Like I don't like. There's not one thing that really sticks out because when you're with the same group of guys each and every day, and throughout those whatever it was, 30 some odd days or 40 some odd days, you pick up on little things. So I guess Hamilton series, my first series win. The Sudbury series will be the triple overtime, winner, and we win. Um, to sweep them, and then in Oshawa, Oshawa was a funny team because it seemed like when I got traded there, we just played them a ton, and we were just back heavy in the season. And everybody can attest to it. When you have such a buffer when you're in first place and you're towards the tail end of the season, it's kind of hard to like get up for anything. But as soon as playoffs hit, it's like it's on again. So rehashing the hostility between Oshawa was something that was honestly a lot of fun for myself. The owner of the Generals, Rocco Tullio, is from the area that I'm from. So just kind of, grinding the gear even one more in just for a little oomph. That was certainly fun. I think the way we ended in game 4, Kaiser played well, real well, and Felly just ended up, scoring, doing what Felly did last year and just scored. And, I think the way we ended that series and everybody was so happy and partied, and we ended up going back and everybody with the brooms and celebrating with us. So it's hard to pick one singular positive event that came from it because you had the sunset breakfasts at the rink. That was all the guys look forward to. Your suits on the road, just little things that you just won't get back, or the card games in the back of the bus that Felly always cheated it in, but we always let him have it. So it's just everything like that. It's just, unfortunately, it's sad to think about that from the past, but it's always good things that you look back on, you laugh about, you have good memories about, and hopefully we can get a reunion.
You mentioned the triple overtime game. What was your mindset as that game wore on and on and on? And were you one of the guys who went into the post-game meal of Swiss Chalet early?
Yeah. No, everybody can attest to that I'm pretty serious during a game, like pretty
Slightly.
quiet to myself, to say the least. And I remember thinking to myself before the game is just, just finish it out, just close it out. I don't want to drive back to Ottawa and then have to play because I think we had that really tight schedule in the turnaround kind of thing. It would be an afternoon game, the fifth game or something like that. And we just wanted to close it out, be done with it. So I was really nervous. I remember to start that game, and my dad and my uncle were actually up in Sudbury watching it. Yeah, they drove up to watch, and they were there. So obviously there's extra incentive. And as soon as the third period, I know we were tied. I'm like, oh my God, of course this is happening. So first overtime, everybody's like gripping the sticks. Plays are being made, chances. Then we get into the second. Then we get in the first overtime intermission, and everyone's like, how can we not score yet? Like everyone's like, how's this game not over? So we're just scratching our heads. Remember after the second overtime period ended, we came in and everyone's like, okay, I'm starving. Everybody starts raiding the room, and I'm still trying to be serious, but everyone's just so tired that by the time the third overtime came, basically the game was, okay, chip it in, get out of your zone, chip it in, change. Chip it in, change. And I'm watching on my net. I'm just laughing because all the guys are tired. We're all tired, and we keep playing this game. And all of a sudden we score, and it was like a big sigh of relief. And Younger was going crazy. It was so funny because Younger is always so intense and so energetic, our strength coach. But seeing him jump up and down and then not having to work out after that game, that was just hilarious. You get chills thinking about
You mentioned how serious you are on, well, during the game days, I can attest to as well. How did you be, is that just your natural personality that comes out where you need to be serious and focused on the task at hand?
Yeah, I think so. I think the reason why I'm like that is because hockey is what I love to do. It's no denying that. It's my passion. It's my love, and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But also, I approach it like it's my job. And I was brought to Ottawa to do a job. And that's to win games, and win playoff games, win big games. I was drafted by Vancouver because they believe in me. So now I have to prove to them that they made the right choice. Like for me, I'm always playing for something. There's much more than just the game at hand. Don't get me wrong, I'm having fun playing the game, but my mindset of just being serious and realizing that, okay, there is a reason why you're here. Now you have an obligation to fulfill your job. Because whenever a goalie has a bad night, everybody knows. Everybody can see it. And it's the first thing that you read. It's the first thing, blah, blah, blah. So as a player, it's easier, if you have an off game or an off shift, it's easier to hide out, to push under the rug. Maybe the coaches picks it up, but really nobody else does. But, as a goaltender, you take one mental break or one mental lapse, and you're putting your team at a loss. You're putting your team behind the eight ball. And for me, I hate doing that. And I have an obligation to myself, like, I want to be the guy. I want to win. I put a lot of pressure on myself. But it's, there's a method to the madness. I'm not just doing it because, I don't want to talk to anyone on a game day. I'm doing it for a reason. And that's just me. So I think it's pretty comical because Seti and I are completely opposite.
That's what I wanted to ask you about next. What was it like being a tandem with a guy who could not be more opposite than you, and then having Will Cranley as the third guy who kind of falls in the middle of both of you?
Yeah, it was kind of like every side of the spectrum. You have one side in me, you have the other side in Seti, and you have something in the middle at Crayons. And, I never had a goalie partner like Seti before.
I don't think there is another Seti out there.
I don't think there ever will be another Seti out there. But for me, it was just, I didn't really know how to read Seti, when I first got there. I didn't really know, because obviously, as a goalie, you want to be the guy. And for me, I'm very competitive. So I may rub people the wrong way sometimes, but it's just the way I am. So the way it said he was pretty welcoming was something that I'll always remember and made me feel, welcome, man, happy to have you kind of thing. And, that's something that I try to even approach this year with guys that came in and know the team. Even though I was a young guy, I just want to let them introduce myself and make myself, as approachable as I could be. So yeah, Seti is the complete opposite for me. I never had a goalie so loose before. I think everybody loves Seti just because he is that positive, beacon and stuff like that. And he works so hard, and he nothing but, you can't not root for the guy, and you want him to do well. So, and then with Kranz was great. He was a 16-year-old. He was a great guy to hang around with. His work ethic, he works extremely hard. Lugging his gear back and forth from the garage to the rink to back to the parking garage, driving up again, going to, back to his junior A club. Like he was a hardworking kid, and like I said, our goalie fraternity was strong.
Now, what the season playoffs obviously didn't end the way that everybody in Ottawa was hoping for, and especially for you going down in game two with an injury. How difficult was it to not be able to play in the finals the way that you wanted to, and how close were you to coming back throughout that time?
Yeah, when you go down like that, first I thought I just twisted my ankle. Like it was just something that, okay, I can't put any pressure on, but it could heal. It could heal within, a couple days. You ice it, you do whatever, you can play through it. And, as the game went on that game, and our athletic therapist, Dano, did more analysis than the doctors, they didn't really tell me that day that, your season was basically done. They kept it optimistic, and, Dano kept working on me, and the doc kept looking at it and seeing how it was doing, how it was progressing. And at the end of the day, you weren't that close. I wasn't close at all, to be honest with you. It was just something that it was a really horribly timed injury. It was something that if you saw me outside the rink and I was walking, it'd be fine. But as soon as you put your foot in the boot and it locks up, I can't go down. I can't skate. I remember 2 days after it happened, I went out for morning skate and I skated around like, oh, I can play through this. And then I went in my stance and my ankle was flexed, and I was pretty much in tears. I couldn't even get up. So, that part was very disheartening. I thought, when you're on a 12-0 run or 11-0 run, whatever if I got credit with the 12th win, I don't know. But 11-0 run, you feel good. You like where your game's going or your game's heading. And then all of a sudden that happens. It takes the wind out of your sails. It's hard watching anything when you could be an impact in the game. And, it's hard to watch, in a situation like that in the finals, and said he hasn't played for 2 months. Like he was a phenomenal teammate to me. And it was just tough watching how everything else went down. We didn't get any bounces, it seemed like. The hockey gods just didn't give us the bounces, and we were right there. We thought we competed well, and it was just a really unfortunate ending to an otherwise glorious season I think we had.
After your trade to Ottawa, you made Team Canada at the World Juniors, have represented the country multiple times. But what was it like to do so at a tournament that has such a high reputation, and to be able to wear the maple leaf?
That was cool. That was probably one of the most satisfying feelings I think in my hockey career, especially what happened the year before with getting cut. It was the last cut. I took the wind out of my sails. I thought it could have done me well, even if I'm not playing or not playing a lot, at least watching, the guys out there, Carter Hart, I thought I could, at least translate that experience into the next year. But, it didn't happen that way. It wasn't in the cards, and they made their decision to cut me. So that was, it made an extra, important for me to make the team the following year. And once I did, it was, I just wanted to solidify myself and make sure, they know that I'm the guy. And for the tournament being in Vancouver and all the hype around it, I wanted nothing but to succeed. And with the way the tournament kind of shook out, it was honestly the feeling of, you got to be kidding me. Like just one thing after another of just, how can this happen, or why is this happening? And it just seemed like last season for me. I remember when I got hurt in Ottawa, all I could think of would be, wow, this season is just losing. That's all it is. And once I had time to reflect on it, you start seeing the bigger picture. And for me, it was, once you have time to digest the season and everything, getting to play for your country at the World Juniors in Vancouver, I felt really good about my game. I liked my game where it was and where it was going and how I performed. And obviously, my time in Ottawa was phenomenal as well. So it wasn't a losing season. It was a season of learning and a season of maturing for myself.
And that was the start of the rivalry, I guess, with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah.
The quarterfinals, the OHL second round, and I'm assuming you played him quite a bit this year as well in the AHL. Do you guys have a friendly rivalry? What is your relationship with Luukkonen like?
I guess it's competitive to say the least. He went, I think, a few picks before me in the draft, so obviously you have that, rivalry there. And I don't think he nor I have played against Ottinger, so I think like those are the three in the draft. So I guess Uko and I have seen a lot of each other in the past year. Like you said, the World Juniors and last year in the playoffs and everything. And then this year I only saw him once because he ended up having surgery. So he he didn't play a couple of games that I was playing against Rochester's team, but I think we're pretty civil. I think it's just a healthy, hockey rivalry as it is. That's all I'd compare it to. I don't think he doesn't hate me. I don't hate him. I think it's just a healthy hockey rivalry. We both respect each other. We respect what we do. But like I said, it's, we want to be the best. We want to win. So I think that's what makes us so competitive.
You talk about how focused you are on game days, but when you're not playing or it's just a practice day off, you seem to have a lot of time for the fans. And one example was a handwritten note that you wrote back to somebody who took the time to write to you. Is that something that you have to try and do? Is that just a natural thing that comes to you?
To me, it's just natural. As a hockey player, they always talk about, you have an obligation to the fans, but for me, I don't feel like it's an obligation or like something I have to do. It's something I want to do. I think as a hockey player or any sports athlete, people are only going to care about who you are for a very short window of time. And, if you can positively impact someone's life in any way, whether it be a letter, whether it be a photo, whether that be an autograph that's properly done and not just done fast through, that person's going to remember it for the rest of its life or for the rest of his or her life. And, for me, it's developing that friendship, that camaraderie with the fans, make sure that, they know that I respect their support and I appreciate their support. So I got to meet the Mortons when I was in Ottawa. Paige and Elle and, Mr. and Mrs. Morton drove up from Paris, Ontario, all the way to Ottawa and watched me play. And I ended up giving her a stick, and everybody kind of caught wind of that. And I've actually been lucky enough that Paige and Elle have actually visited me this year in Utica. They came to Utica once. They met me in Rochester. They were in Toronto. They took the train up. So we have tons of pictures together, and I still keep in touch with their family, and I get with the kids. And they actually got me for my birthday. They got me a membership to Funky Socks, and for 6 months, each month they got new socks. So I've been repping those around in my suits, and I made sure that they know I'm repping it. And I just wished them happy Easter a couple of days ago. So, and every time they come, Paige and Elle, the two daughters, they give me Skittles. So I've been sharing the wealth on the bus as well. So it's been a phenomenal friendship that it just shows that, the hockey world's so small, and it's really nice to be able to share that with people like that.
Popular guy with the Skittles for sure, I can imagine on the bus. How big of a role has your dad played, not only in your whole life, but in your hockey journey up until this point?
Been everything. Dad's been bringing me to, I think both of my parents have had an impact on my hockey career. When it was just my dad and I, he brought me everywhere I needed to be when I was a player before I switched to being a goalie. It was everywhere. We would drive to hockey tournaments together and stuff like that. And when my dad met my mom, she had a son and he played goalie, and he was my inspiration to be a goalie. And so I made the switch, and I guess the rest history. So my dad and I have drove to every tournament together. He didn't miss a tournament, didn't miss practice. He didn't miss any games that he could with work being cooperative. And that's, you can't say enough nice things about him. We went to every game practice in his Ford F-150, the same one for I think it was 12 years. And we drove to the draft in Chicago when I got drafted by Vancouver. We opted to drive to the draft in it to kind of, it was like bookends where it started and where it's going to go. So that was something special too. So it's just something that we just share together. And I'm very, very blessed to have the family that I do, but it's also, we get at each other's throats sometimes, because Italians are stubborn as well. But like I said, we have a special bond, that's for sure. He's our best friend.
And Mikey, just one last one for you. NHL draft. Don't know when it's going to happen at this point, but it will happen. And I just want to get your thoughts on a few of the Ottawa 67's draft eligible players: Marco Rossi, Jack Quinn, as well as Will Cranley, who you touched on before.
Yeah, I think Marco. What can you say about Marco? He's a special player. You can't say enough great things about him. He's extremely annoying to work with in practice because he finishes every puck, and I finish every puck. So we've been battling and heating. We've been a couple times heated up at each other, but it just shows his compete level, his work ethic is really second to none, and it was really special for me to be able to be on his team for such a short period of time. He's, like I said, an extremely hard worker. He's obviously extremely gifted, and he's a special talent offensively, but he's also very defensive. He's very responsible. He's a responsible player, and I think in the game now, so many offensively gifted players don't really take the time in their own zone. I think that's where he really separates himself. Is his 200-foot game. Whatever coach Andre wants, like he does, and I'm sure coach says can't say enough great things about him either. So that's what I have to say about Marco. He's just probably one of the best players I've ever been on the ice with. And Jack Quinn, he's obviously a late birthday, so he's it seems like he had another year to kind of develop and grow. Quinner's got a good shot. He's a hard worker. He's a great dude off the ice to really just hang out with. He's a good kid. He's one of my close guys I was probably with on the team last year. And Quinner's been obviously having a good year. But like I said, I think Quinner's a really special talent. I think whatever team gets him is going to be a lucky one. And I think Cran's like a goalie with that size and with that with such good character. I think he deserves a shot wherever he gets chosen. I think whoever chooses him will fall in love with him. I think he has all the tools to be really, really, really successful. And I think for him, it's just continue to work at it. He's been nothing but respectful. He's a phenomenal dude to hang around with. Like I said, his work ethic last year, just willing just to do whatever he needed to do to get on a sheet of ice and do something, was great. And he's a very kind individual. So those are three great dudes that I've been very lucky enough to call teammates, but also even more blessed and lucky to call friends too.
Well, Mikey, your video's not working, but I did have a surprise for you. I had this sitting around.
Whoa, you had to put it on.
Yeah, I was going to, but we can't post the video portion of this. It's one of my stupid suit ties, and
I love it.
Mikey was a big fan of it last year. I know that, but I appreciate the time, Mike, and we'll talk down the road.
All right, thanks, Kenny.